Welcome back to Studio Chatter. If you or someone you know is struggling with an addiction, sometimes you just need a kind reminder to keep you going. Welcome Bruce Bennett from Sprezie Aftercare to the Chatter. Welcome.
Welcome, Bruce.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
So what is Sprezie Aftercare?
So Sprezie is a really simple tool for friends and family and loved ones to be able to provide support for people as they're going through treatment or counseling or when they're done. A lot of times people become clean and sober, but the real struggle starts when they return home and they go back into the world where they got addicted first. And Sprezie helps them in the real world. Okay.
How did the idea come to be?
So the idea actually came to be, we helped the University of Alabama do a research project with recovering homeless inner city crack cocaine addicts.
Wow.
And we learned some things from that, and then we went to BYU and asked BYU if they would be willing to do some research with us. And so we spent about 12 years working with BYU, developing the technology, testing the technology, and getting it to where it's where it is today.
So how does it work? What does this whole thing look like?
So it's a really simple process. Okay. So the person that's either going through treatment or recovery sets a goal, they identify a schedule, and then they list friends and family that are important to them. And then Sprezie reaches out to them, invites them to leave messages of support, and then Sprezie will call the person at the schedule they set, ask them how they're doing on their goal, and then deliver one of the messages of support. And we found that for people to stay clean and sober, it's just helping them get encouragement at just the right moment. Mm-hmm. It's not like a big thing, it's just 1,000 little changes. And so Sprezie's designed just to give people motivation at those little moments.
So how many times a day would these messages go out? I mean, is there
or even times a week?
Yeah.
Right?
It varies on person-by-person basis.
Oh, okay.
It really is driven by the person. Mm-hmm. I have to tell you my favorite story, though, to give you an example. So we were doing research, and we were working with a halfway house in California, and there was an LA gang member who had recycled through the prison system 3 times. And he was using Sprezie, and one night he got a phone call telling him that his best friend in the gang had been killed by a rival gang member. Mm-hmm. The next day, he snuck out of the halfway house, literally to take revenge. Mm-hmm. We were working with a researcher in California, and the researcher called me, and he said, "Bruce, we prevented a murder today." And I just started laughing. And he told me that while this gentleman was in transit, Sprezie called him, and it pulled a message from his mother. And his mother just said to him, "You have 2 beautiful daughters who have grown up most of their life without you. Don't do something that will keep you from them." And he said, "I listened to my mom's voice, and I thought about my daughters, and I turned back around to the halfway house and said, I need some help."
Wow.
I watched that short video today. That was very moving. And I wondered how this could affect, someone in that moment, how these messages and this type of technology in today's world really can help somebody who's recovering from, whether it's someone in a halfway house or from an addiction, or maybe even somebody. Are there other examples of maybe somebody who's suffering even depression or something, mm-hmm. or all sorts of therapy? Okay.
Yeah, so really what it's designed to do is help people when there's not a counselor present.
Okay.
So we had a single mom who had both of her kids were away at college.
Okay.
And she was telling us she gets the messages, and her exact phrase were, "Those messages are like candy. And when I'm having a bad day, I just sit and play them over and over again." Mm-hmm. And she said it's really the main way that my daughter and I stay in contact now, because her daughters will call, leave messages, and then Sprezie will deliver them when she's struggling. Wow. But they're on her phone once she's got them, and so she can listen to them when she's having a bad day.
So you're creating a good visual for me. So you guys are behind the scenes. You're not like a brick and mortar place where you don't house the counselors, the treatment. You're kind of the back end where you're working with the families, the treatment centers, the counselors, psychiatrists, right?
Yeah, we're really a tool. I mean, we have counselors who will use this with their patients, and it helps the counselors follow what their patients are doing. In fact, it gives them a little bit of information so that if their patients are starting to struggle, it can alert them of the fact that they're struggling. And it gives their counselors another way to get connected. And it also gives families a way. We had a young man who his mom, single mom, spent $40,000 on a treatment program. Wow. And they got together a support team after they got out of the program. And they said to the support team, so your job is to call him whenever you think he needs help.
Do you know?
And people just don't do that.
No.
But this gives people a way to call, leave a voicemail message, and they can do it whenever they feel like it. And then Sprezie will deliver those messages at the times that the person identifies they need them.
Oh, so you would have done the research prior to that when they felt they needed.
That is so incredible.
See, it's an automated system, and that allows us to make it really inexpensive. It's like between 55 and 70 cents a day, so it's really inexpensive compared to what people are used to paying for treatment. But it's also a really personalized system because the person sets their own goals, they set their own tasks, they create their own schedule, and they identify their own support team. So they're really in control of being able to manage that.
So is there like a questionnaire that they would have to fill to find out, or do you have to go out and meet these people?
No, they can fill it in online, and typically what we ask them to do, if they're working with a therapist or a counselor or they've gone through treatment, they've come out with goals, and we just use Sprezie to support the goals they've already set.
Yeah.
I mean, they know what it is they need to do, and our goal is just to give them help.
And is it specifically for addicts? Or, I mean, depression too, but more specifically?
Yeah, we're really trying to focus on helping addicts, but what's interesting is as people use it, they always say, this is really helpful. I mean, we've used it with athletes to help them stay on their workout routines. We've used it with students to help them develop better study habits, but we're really focused on just trying to provide support for addicts because there's not a lot of support after treatment.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't spend much time there, but I did spend a little bit of time to kind of go through the process to see what it was maybe like, just kind of fill out the questionnaire, and to see the pricing, and it kind of listed there, like it app based, right? So, and just putting in your information, and then it listed the pricing there. So it looks like it's, like you said, 55 cents per day, and kind of 6 month. Kind of laid out the charges there for 6 months or so, and then putting in your information. How do you kind of keep that confidential?
So it's actually not an app.
Okay. Explain that.
Yeah, it literally is traditional phone calls and texts.
Oh, okay.
So the participants have an online secure website where they can go in and manage everything on their account.
Okay.
And it's password protected. All the data is encrypted.
Okay.
It's completely confidential.
Okay.
And so, like when a participant invites someone to leave a message, they can choose whether or not they tell them what goal they're working on. That's totally up to them. Or they can just send an invitation that says, I'm working on a difficult goal. Would you mind leaving a message to provide support for me?
Love that.
So the participant's in complete control. The participant can also choose to give access to a counselor. And then the counselor can see how the participant's doing on a daily basis and can also add additional support messages that get delivered as well.
So do you think you would introduce something like suicide? Why couldn't you do something like that?
We actually we've talked to several people about donating services through the Safe Utah app. And so that people who go to the Safe Utah app, we're very anxious to do what we can to help them.
That would be good.
Really good.
So, So are you going into local centers, like mental health centers, and just trying to, I guess, educate those people that are working in this industry?
Yeah, we're starting to. So we actually worked with BYU and the criminal justice system for 12 years, working on this. BYU's actually done they published 3 papers showing that in the criminal justice system, it will reduce the recidivism rate by 50%, which is really, really good. And we've kind of focused on that for many years, and we're just now starting to use it in other areas.
This is an exciting time then.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, this is really, really awesome. So people would be able to find out more about this from the treatment centers, of course. If anybody just wants more information about Sprezie, what is the best way to get information?
The website is aftercare.sprezie.com.
Okay.
Sprezie.
Okay.
And the phone number is 833 Sprezie.
Okay.
Okay.
We will share that
We
with
wish
our
you the
viewers.
very best. It just seems so natural, like we should have been doing this all along. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because when people go through treatment, they come out clean and sober. That's what their goal is. But there aren't very many treatment centers that provide ongoing support.
Yeah.
And we're trying to fill that gap.
Very timely
Thank you for taking care of
and
it.
awesome that people can just reach for their phones.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks
having me on.
sharing.
Thank you.
All right.
This is
There's
really
more
fun.
studio chatter coming up.